Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something pretty ambitious. We're taking a journey way back.
Way, way back.
And not just centuries, we're talking millennia. Back to the very beginnings of, well, what we call civilization. Have you ever stopped to think, really think, about how we got from being these, scattered nomadic groups, just focused on survival,
Day to day.
to the complex, organized societies we have now?
It's a huge leap.
It really is. Almost unbelievable when you think about it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack the foundational building blocks, explore those key moments, those transformations and structures our ancestors created that, well, set the stage for everything that followed.
Yeah, the bedrock, really.
We've gone through a lot of historical research for this, trying to pull out the clearest insights. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
To really get a handle on where civilization started, we have to rewind, like way back. Past recorded history to our earliest ancestors. It's all about these small steps that added up to something huge, incremental but profound.
So what were those first sparks? What started setting us apart?
That really is the core question, isn't it? And if you look at the progression, these early hominid groups, you see those building blocks falling into place. It starts, arguably, with Homo habilis.
The handy person, right.
Person with ability, yeah. Popping up maybe 3 to 1.5 million years ago. Their big thing, crude stone tools, simple choppers, scrapers.
Sounds basic, but I guess it made a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Made things like cracking bones for marrow, maybe processing plants just that bit easier. They also had a pretty limited speech, mostly gathering, scavenging what they could find.
Okay. Then came Homo erectus.
Right, Homo erectus. A big step up. They show up later, moving out of Africa maybe 1.5 million to 200,000 years ago. Their tools were better hand axes, more refined stuff. But the real game changer...
Let me guess. Fire.
Fire. Controlling fire. Think about it. Warmth, protection from predators at night, sure. But cooking, that's massive.
Oh, okay. Cooked food means...
More nutrients unlocked, easier digestion, which probably led to longer lifespans, maybe fewer diseases. It fueled brain development, potentially. Plus, they used caves, dug pits for shelter, and crucially, their spoken language seems to have been more developed.
So they could coordinate. Like, for hunting.
Exactly. Small hunting parties, not just scavenging anymore, actively going after game. That's a significant shift in strategy and capability.
Okay, fire and better tools, better communication, huge steps. But then we get to Homo sapiens, the person who thinks. What's the leap there? Is it just bigger brains, or...?
It's more than just brain size, though that's part of it. Homo sapiens arrive on the scene, let's say 200,000 to 30,000 years ago, and even within that group you see refinement. Take the Neanderthals.
Right. Often get a bad rap, the Neanderthals, caveman stereotypes.
Totally unfair, mostly. I mean, compared to who came before, they were incredibly advanced, lived maybe 200,000 to 35,000 years ago. They had sophisticated spear points, hide scrapers. They were likely sewing animal hides into garments.
Makes sense for surviving colder climates, the Ice Age.
Definitely. And they built simple shelters, like lean-tos. But here's something really interesting, something hinting at, well, deeper humanity.
Go on.
We find evidence of planned burials. Objects buried with the dead. That suggests, what? Maybe some belief in an afterlife?
Wow, okay.
And possibly even evidence that they cared for injured or disabled members of their groups, individuals who couldn't have survived alone.
That points towards empathy, social bonds, morality even.
It really seems like it. The developing sense of community, compassion. That's a profound building block right there, long before cities or anything like that.
That really reframes things.
Yeah.
Empathy isn't some modern luxury, it's ancient. And after Neanderthals, we get the Cro-Magnons, even more advanced.
You got it. Cro-Magnons, roughly 60,000 to 8,000 years ago. Technologically, another leap. They developed specialized tools, fine knives, chisels, and weapons tech. Spear throwers, which add range and power, and eventually the bow and arrow.
Making hunting way more effective, I bet. Less risky, too.
Much more. They also mastered using bone and antler for tools, needles, harpoons. But what also blows me away is their art.
The cave paintings. Lascaux, Altamira.
Exactly. Lascaux in France is amazing. Archaeologists found paintings from like 13 different time periods, often painted right on top of older ones.
So generations of artists using the same sacred or maybe just good spots.
Seems like it. Continuous creative expression over thousands of years. It's just incredible.
And Homo sapiens, that's us,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
We inherited all this.
Pretty much. Our direct ancestors, showing up maybe 200,000 to 100,000 years ago, they had the full toolkit, all the technological skills, the social complexity hinted at by Neanderthals, the artistry of Cro-Magnons, all developing against this backdrop of the Stone Age, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and the huge climate shifts of the Ice Ages.
Constant pressure to adapt, innovate, or disappear.
That's the story of early humanity.
So all these developments, tools, fire, language, art, social care, they're all building up. But then comes something that just fundamentally changes the entire human trajectory, a real revolution.
The Neolithic Revolution. Yeah, if you want a turning point, that's it. Kicked off around 10,000 years ago, give or take, depending on where you are in the world.
Middle East earlier, maybe 8,000 BCE, China later.
Something like that. The core idea, systematic agriculture. Humans figuring out how to grow staple crops, wheat, barley, rice, maize, whatever, worked locally reliably season after season.
Instead of just hoping to find enough food.
Exactly. It's a shift from hunting and gathering, or even early sort of haphazard farming, to controlled cultivation. People started with things like slash and burn, moving around less frequently, then eventually figuring out how to farm the same areas for long periods.
And that means
Permanent settlements. No need to constantly follow the herds or the ripening plants. People build houses, stay put, villages start forming. That's a radical change in lifestyle.
And it wasn't just plants, right? Animals too.
Right. The pastoral revolution goes hand in hand, domestication. Dogs were probably first, helping with hunting.
Man's best friend, even back then.
Seems so. Then goats, sheep, cattle, pigs, eventually horses, chickens, for meat, milk, wool, hides, but also critically for labor, pulling plows, carrying things.
So reliable plants, reliable animals.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have more food than you immediately need. A surplus.
Bingo! And a food surplus changes everything. People aren't spending every waking moment just finding the next meal.
Time frees up.
Time frees up for other things. Specialization starts tool makers, weavers, potters, maybe early leaders or priests. There's time for, well, other activities. Some even think the discovery of fermentation, making beer or wine, probably happened around this time, almost by accident with stored grains.
Huh. So civilization might have been fueled by beer.
Well, the surplus it allowed for experimentation certainly helped. But
Yeah.
seriously, that stability, that surplus, that free time, it creates the conditions for the next leap in complexity.
It's amazing. Just growing food reliably changes the whole human equation. So these stable villages, fueled by agriculture and animal husbandry, where do they start blossoming into something even bigger, like cities and, dare I say, empires?
Well, often where the conditions were best for that surplus, fertile river valleys. They were like magnets. Reliable water, rich soil renewed by floods, perfect for agriculture.
The classic cradles of civilization.
Yeah.
Nile, Tigris, Euphrates.
Exactly. Let's start with Egypt and the Nile. Over 4,000 miles long. The key thing about the Nile, compared to other rivers, was its predictability.
The floods came pretty much like clockwork.
Yeah, annual, reliable floods that deposited incredibly fertile black silt, perfect for growing wheat, barley, and papyrus, which they used for everything, including writing material. That predictability allowed for a really stable, centralized society to develop.
Stable environment, stable power.
Seems that way. Settlements pop up early, by 5,000 BCE. Eventually, they get unified, around 3,000 BCE under King Menes. The Old Kingdom follows, say, 2,700, 2,200 BCE. This is where you see that strong central government really flexing its muscles.
Pyramids time.
Pyramids time. The Step Pyramid, the Great Pyramids at Giza. These weren't just tombs. They were massive public works projects requiring incredible organization, resources, and a powerful authority to command it all. The kings were theocratic, seen as gods, or at least mediators with the gods, holding religious and political power.
A quote you mentioned earlier captured that, didn't it? About the king making the gods content.
Yeah, the sun god has placed King En for judging mankind, for making the gods content, for creating truth, for destroying evil. It shows that fusion of divine and earthly rule.
Did that stability last forever?
No, nothing does. Egypt had ups and downs. The Middle Kingdom saw civil wars, then reunification. Then they were invaded by the Hyksos, who had a military advantage, horse-drawn chariots.
Ouch. Adapt or perish again.
Right. And the Egyptians adapted. The New Kingdom rulers, starting around 1600 BCE, drove out the Hyksos, adopted chariot technology themselves, and became even more imperialistic. This is when the term pharaoh really comes into use, emphasizing the king as a god on earth. You get powerful rulers like Ramses the Great. But eventually, decline set in again. Egypt's main contribution, that building block, was this incredibly enduring model of centralized divine authority and state organization.
Okay, so Egypt, predictability, stability, divine kingship, monumental building. What about Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent between the Tigris and Euphrates? You said it was more dynamic.
Very different vibe. The rivers there weren't as predictable. Floods could be destructive. Life felt maybe more precarious, which spurred different kinds of innovation, perhaps more competition. The first major players were the Sumerians, down in the south, around 3500 BCE.
And their big idea wasn't one unified kingdom.
No, it was the city-state. Independent cities like Uruk, Lagash, each was its own little kingdom, built around a massive temple complex called a ziggurat.
Like a stepped pyramid.
Sort of, yeah. A huge structure, temple on top. It was the religious and often the administrative heart of the city. Very distinct identities.
And they were innovators.
Hugely innovative. Get this. They invent the first known form of writing, cuneiform, around 3100 BCE. Wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay.
Which means records, bureaucracy.
Exactly. The rise of scribes, administration, keeping track of grain, taxes, laws. They also invented the wagon wheel, the arch, the potter's wheel, the sundial, a metal plow. Even developed a 12-month calendar and a number system based on 60.
60. Like our minutes and seconds.
That's where it comes from. Think about it. These weren't just gadgets. They were fundamental tools for organizing urban life, trade, large-scale projects, a whole operating system for complexity.
But with all these competing cities, conflict must have been constant.
Pretty much. Led to the first empires trying to conquer and unify the region. Sargon of Akkad did it for a while, around 2300 BCE, but his empire didn't last long after him. Then came the Babylonians.
Hammurabi, yeah. Ruled around 1792, 1750 BCE. Conquered the whole Fertile Crescent. He was an organizer, reorganized taxes, boosted agriculture with irrigation. But his most famous legacy,
Code of Hammurabi.
the Code, a unified set of laws for the whole empire, carved on stone pillars for all to see. It was stricter than earlier Sumerian laws. That famous eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth principle comes from there.
Harsh, but maybe clearer.
Harsher, definitely. And it wasn't equal penalties varied by social class. But the idea of a single, comprehensive written law code applying across a diverse empire, that was a massive building block for the concept of law itself.
Okay, so Mesopotamia gives us cities, writing, complex administration, codified law. Now, shifting focus slightly, the Israelites in Canaan, they weren't a huge military or political power compared to Egypt or Babylon, were they?
No, not on the same scale. They were often caught between larger empires conquered multiple times. But their contribution, their building block, was arguably even more influential in the long run.
Which was monotheism. A radical idea at the time, the belief in one single, all-powerful, universal God, Yahweh or Jehovah. This was revolutionary.
How did that develop?
Tradition starts with Abraham, around 1900 BCE, making a covenant, a special agreement with God. Much later, Moses, maybe in the 1200s BCE, leads the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and, according to tradition, receives the Ten Commandments.
Laws from God directly. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Exactly. That focus on one God and a moral code tied directly to that divine relationship. It was unique. It wasn't just about rituals for local gods. It was about ethics, justice, how people should treat each other under the eye of this one God.
And that concept had legs.
Immense legs. Even though they established kingdoms under Saul, David, Solomon, who built the temple in Jerusalem, their political power fluctuated wildly. But their core ideas, monotheism, the covenant, a divine law code focused on morality, the inherent worth of individuals in God's eyes, these profoundly shaped Judaism, obviously, but also Christianity and Islam. It's an intellectual and ethical legacy that has shaped Western civilization and beyond for millennia.
It's incredible how an idea, more than an empire, can have such lasting impact. Okay, let's move east again to the Persians.
Yeah.
They did build a massive empire. Right?
Oh, yeah. One of the biggest the ancient world had seen. They emerged from modern-day Iran, and under rulers like Cyrus the Great and his son Cambyses, they conquered most of the Middle East, including Mesopotamia, Egypt, a huge territory by 525 BCE.
So just another conquering empire. Or did they bring something new to the table?
They brought administrative genius, especially under King Darius I, who ruled from 522-486 BCE. His building block was figuring out how to effectively govern such a vast, diverse empire.
How did he do that?
He divided it into provinces called satrapies, each ruled by a governor, a satrap. These guys had local authority but answered to the king. He built a new capital, Persepolis. Crucially, he constructed the Royal Road, a 1,500-mile highway with relay stations.
For quick communication, moving troops.
Exactly, tied the empire together. He also introduced standardized coinage across the empire, which massively boosted trade and commerce. It was a very practical, organized approach to empire building, effective governance.
Makes sense. And wasn't there a religious element with the Persians too? Zoroastrianism?
Yes, another significant development, a religion founded by the prophet Zoroaster. Its teachings are in their sacred texts, the Avestas. It proposed a kind of dualism, one supreme good god, Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, engaged in a cosmic battle against Ahriman, the spirit of darkness and evil.
So not strictly monotheistic like Judaism, but moving in that direction.
Kind of a partial commitment to monotheism, as some historians put it, but that strong sense of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, light and darkness, a final judgment. These ideas are believed to have significantly influenced Jewish thought during the Persian period, and through Judaism, they later echoed in Christianity and Islam as well.
So ideas were flowing back and forth even then, influencing each other.
Absolutely. The ancient world was more connected and dynamic than we sometimes imagine.
It's just stunning when you lay it all out. The sheer amount of foundational stuff, language, tools, fire, farming, cities, laws, writing, organized government, profound religious ideas all emerging in these early periods. They weren't just surviving, they were actively creating the world we inherited.
Just shaping the trajectory.
So just to recap this whirlwind tour, we went from our earliest tool-making ancestors through the game-changing Neolithic Revolution with farming and settlement to the rise of these incredible river valley civilizations. Egypt with its divine kings and pyramids, Mesopotamia with its city-states, writing, and laws, the Israelites with their revolutionary monotheism, and the Persians with their vast, well-run empire and influential religious ideas. That's a lot of ground covered.
It is, and the key takeaway, I think, is that these weren't just random events happening in isolation. Each building block, language, fire control, farming, law codes, governments, religious thought built upon what came before. They represent these fundamental shifts in how humans lived, organized themselves, and understood their place in the universe. It really does explain why societies developed the way they did. It's the deep history behind everything that followed.
And it's not just abstract history, is it? It connects directly to us, to you listening right now. Those ancient structures, ideas, laws, they're embedded in our own world. Our legal systems echo Hammurabi. Our concepts of morality often trace back to those early monotheistic ideas. Our cities are descendants of Ur in Memphis. It's a direct line.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Which leads to a fascinating thought, doesn't it? If huge shifts like the Neolithic Revolution, the invention of writing, or the rise of monotheism could so fundamentally remake the human experience back then, what are the potentially revolutionary shifts happening now that things were maybe too close to see clearly? What unseen revolutions, maybe technological, maybe social, maybe informational, are we living through today that future generations will look back on as the building blocks that completely reshaped their world in ways we can barely even start to guess?